Welcome to the Discourse Analyzer AI Toolkit, where articles come alive. You're listening to the audio version of our article. For the full text and an interactive experience, check out the link in the description below. Interact with any selection using our AI assistant to enhance your understanding. Let's explore.
Courtroom Discourse in Discourse Analysis. Interactive Assistant Courtroom Discourse refers to the language and communication that occurs within a courtroom setting, involving judges, lawyers, witnesses, defendants, and juries. It includes the formal proceedings of trials, hearings, and other legal interactions, where language plays a crucial role in shaping the outcomes of legal cases. In discourse analysis, courtroom discourse is examined to understand how language is used to construct legal arguments, establish authority, manage power dynamics, and frame legal narratives. Discourse analysis of courtroom interactions provides insights into how participants use language strategically to influence decisions, control the flow of communication, and persuade judges or juries. By analyzing the specific linguistic features of courtroom discourse, such as questioning techniques, speech acts, and rhetorical strategies, researchers can uncover how legal outcomes are shaped by language, as well as how legal ideologies and power structures are reinforced or challenged through discourse. Key features of courtroom discourse in discourse analysis. 1. Formality and ritualized language. Courtroom discourse is marked by a high degree of formality and follows strict procedural rules. This formality is reflected in the language used, which often includes formulaic expressions and ritualized phrases to establish authority and maintain decorum. Example: a judge might open a trial with the phrase, "The court is now in session," signaling the formal beginning of legal proceedings. Discourse analysis would examine how such ritualized language reinforces the authority of the court and creates a structured, formal environment in which the legal process unfolds. 2. Power dynamics and control of interaction. Courtroom interactions are characterized by clear power dynamics, with judges holding the highest authority, followed by lawyers, and finally witnesses and defendants. Discourse analysis investigates how language reflects these power structures and how control over discourse is maintained or challenged. Example: a judge might use directive language such as, "Counsel, please proceed with your cross-examination," to direct the flow of the trial. Discourse analysis would explore how the judge's language exerts control over the participants and how this control reinforces the hierarchical structure of the courtroom. 3. Questioning techniques and examination of witnesses. A key feature of courtroom discourse is the use of questioning techniques during the examination and cross-examination of witnesses. Lawyers use various types of questions, open-ended, leading, or closed-ended, to guide or challenge witness testimony. Discourse analysis focuses on how these questions are designed to elicit specific responses or frame the witness's narrative. Example: during cross-examination, a lawyer might ask, "Isn't it true that you were at the scene of the crime?" Discourse analysis would examine how the use of a leading question pressures the witness to confirm a specific detail, thus shaping the testimony to fit the lawyer's argument. 4. Turn-taking and control of speaking rights. In courtroom settings, turn-taking is strictly regulated, with participants, lawyers, witnesses, defendants, needing permission to speak. Discourse analysis explores how speaking rights are managed and how participants negotiate their ability to contribute to the discourse. Example: a witness may only speak when directly addressed, as in, "Please answer the question, yes or no," by the judge or lawyer. Discourse analysis would explore how the restriction of speaking turns reflects the hierarchical control over discourse in the courtroom, limiting certain participants' contributions while privileging others, e.g., lawyers, judges. 5. Framing of legal narratives. In courtroom discourse, the framing of facts and events is critical in persuading the judge or jury. Lawyers construct narratives that present their client in the most favorable light, while the opposing counsel seeks to undermine this framing. Discourse analysis focuses on how language is used to construct these competing legal narratives. Example: in a defense attorney's closing argument, they might frame the defendant's actions as a response to immediate danger, while the prosecutor frames them as a premeditated act of violence. Discourse analysis would examine how these competing narratives are constructed through language and how each side attempts to influence the interpretation of the facts. 6. Rhetorical strategies and persuasion. Rhetorical strategies are frequently employed in courtroom discourse to persuade the judge or jury. These strategies include appeals to logic, logos, emotion, pathos, and ethics, ethos. Discourse analysis examines how language is used rhetorically to strengthen legal arguments and sway decisions. Example: in a murder trial, a prosecutor might appeal to emotion by saying, "This senseless act has torn a family apart and left a child without a mother." Discourse analysis would investigate how the prosecutor uses pathos to evoke an emotional response from the jury, reinforcing the severity of the crime and the need for justice. 7. Speech acts and legal speech genres. Courtroom discourse involves a variety of speech acts, such as questions, objections, commands, and statements, that carry specific legal functions. Discourse analysis looks at how these speech acts contribute to the unfolding of legal proceedings and how they align with the formalized nature of courtroom discourse. Example: a defense lawyer might say, "I object to this line of questioning on the grounds of irrelevance." Discourse analysis would examine how the act of objecting functions as a speech act designed to interrupt the flow of testimony and challenge the opposing counsel's strategy. This objection is also a marker of the formal legal speech genre that regulates courtroom interactions. Methods for analyzing courtroom discourse in discourse. 1. Conversation analysis. Conversation analysis is particularly useful for studying how courtroom interactions are structured. This method focuses on turn-taking, interruptions, and how participants manage their contributions during the trial. It is especially useful for examining lawyer-witness interactions, where strategic interruptions and control over the flow of discourse can impact the outcome. Example: conversation analysis of cross-examination might reveal how lawyers strategically interrupt witnesses to control their narrative, or how witnesses attempt to resist this control by repeating or reframing their answers. 2. Critical discourse analysis, CDA. Critical discourse analysis, CDA, is used to examine how power, ideology, and institutional structures are reflected in courtroom language. CDA focuses on how legal discourse reinforces social hierarchies and how participants use language to negotiate authority within the courtroom. Example: a CDA of courtroom interactions might reveal how the language used by judges and lawyers reflects broader societal ideologies, such as gender or racial bias, and how certain groups are marginalized through legal discourse. 3. Frame analysis. Frame analysis investigates how legal narratives are framed in courtroom discourse. This method focuses on how lawyers and other participants highlight certain aspects of events while downplaying others to construct persuasive legal arguments. Example: in a personal injury case, a plaintiff's attorney might frame the defendant's actions as grossly negligent, while the defense attorney frames them as a simple accident. Frame analysis would examine how the choice of language in each argument emphasizes different interpretations of the same event to influence the judge or jury. 4. Narrative analysis. Narrative analysis explores how legal actors construct stories in the courtroom to make sense of events and support their arguments. This method is useful for studying how lawyers, witnesses, and defendants narrate facts to fit within a broader legal framework. Example: in a criminal trial, the defense might construct a narrative of self-defense, while the prosecution constructs a narrative of unprovoked aggression. Narrative analysis would focus on how these stories are told through courtroom discourse and how they shape the jury's understanding of the events. Examples of courtroom discourse in discourse analysis. Example 1. Lawyer-witness interactions in a cross-examination. During cross-examination, a prosecutor might ask a witness, "Isn't it true that you were at the scene of the crime that night?" Discourse analysis would examine how this leading question pressures the witness to confirm a specific fact, shaping their testimony to fit the prosecutor's narrative. The analysis would also focus on how the witness navigates the power dynamics of the interaction, possibly attempting to resist the lawyer's framing. Example 2. Power dynamics in judicial authority. In a trial, a judge might say, "Counsel, "You are out of line," to reprimand a lawyer for improper conduct. Discourse analysis would explore how the judge's language asserts authority, controls the behavior of legal participants, and maintains the formal order of the courtroom. The analysis would also investigate how the judge's authority is reinforced through their ability to control the flow of discourse. Example 3. Framing in closing arguments. In a closing argument, a defense lawyer might say, "My client is a victim of circumstance, caught in the wrong place at the wrong time." Discourse analysis would examine how the lawyer uses framing techniques to construct a narrative that emphasizes the defendant's innocence and downplays their involvement in the crime. The analysis would also focus on how this framing aims to evoke sympathy from the jury. Example 4. Rhetorical appeals in sentencing hearings. In a sentencing hearing, a prosecutor might argue, "The defendant's actions have caused irreparable harm to the community, and a strong sentence is necessary to ensure justice." Discourse analysis would explore how the prosecutor uses rhetorical appeals to justice and community safety to persuade the judge to impose a harsher sentence. The analysis would focus on how language is used to evoke a sense of moral duty in the sentencing process. Example 5. Objections and legal speech acts. In the middle of a trial, a lawyer might object by saying, "Objection, hearsay." Discourse analysis would focus on how the objection functions as a speech act to disrupt the testimony, challenge the admissibility of evidence, and influence the judge's decision. The analysis would also examine how the objection reflects the formalized speech patterns of courtroom discourse. Challenges in analyzing courtroom discourse through discourse. 1. Formality and specialized language. Courtroom discourse involves highly formal and specialized legal language, which can be challenging to analyze for those unfamiliar with legal jargon. Discourse analysts must carefully navigate this complexity to accurately interpret the strategic use of language in legal contexts. 2. Power imbalances. Courtroom settings involve significant power imbalances, particularly between legal professionals and lay participants, e.g., witnesses, defendants. Discourse analysts must be sensitive to how these power dynamics are reflected in language and how they affect participation and the outcomes of legal proceedings. 3. Context-specific interpretations. The meaning of language in courtroom discourse is often highly context-dependent, shaped by the specific legal framework, case law, and trial procedures. Discourse analysts must consider these broader legal contexts when interpreting how language functions in the courtroom. Conclusion. Courtroom discourse is a rich area for discourse analysis, providing insights into how language shapes legal arguments, establishes authority, and influences the outcomes of legal proceedings. By examining the formality, questioning techniques, turn-taking, and rhetorical strategies used in courtroom interactions, discourse analysis reveals the intricate ways in which language constructs legal realities and negotiates power. Whether analyzing lawyer-witness interactions, judicial authority, or the framing of legal narratives, discourse analysis helps uncover the powerful role that language plays in the courtroom and how it impacts the administration of justice. Through this lens, researchers can better understand the legal system's reliance on discourse to communicate, enforce, and interpret the law. Frequently asked questions. What is courtroom discourse in discourse analysis? Courtroom discourse refers to the language and communication used in courtroom settings, encompassing interactions among judges, lawyers, witnesses, defendants, and juries. Discourse analysis of courtroom language reveals how legal outcomes are shaped by linguistic strategies, power dynamics, and rhetorical devices. Why is courtroom discourse important in legal settings? Courtroom discourse plays a crucial role in shaping legal arguments, influencing jury perceptions, and controlling trial procedures. It reflects the power dynamics between judges, lawyers, and participants and helps construct the legal reality that guides case outcomes. What are the key features of courtroom discourse? Formality and ritualized language. Maintains decorum and establishes authority. Power dynamics. Reflects and enforces the hierarchy of the courtroom. Questioning techniques. Used by lawyers to elicit specific responses. Turn-taking. Strictly controlled to regulate speaking rights. Framing. Constructs legal narratives to persuade judges and juries. Rhetorical strategies. appeals to logic, emotion, and ethics to strengthen arguments. Speech acts includes objections, directives, and other formal utterances. How do questioning techniques function in courtroom discourse? Lawyers use strategic questioning, e.g., leading, open-ended, or closed-ended questions, to shape witness testimony and build their case narrative. Discourse analysis examines how these questions guide responses and frame the testimony to support a legal argument. What role do power dynamics play in courtroom discourse? Judges hold ultimate authority in the courtroom and use language to control proceedings, e.g., order in the court. Discourse analysis studies how this control is asserted and maintained and how participants navigate or challenge these power structures. How is framing used in courtroom arguments? Lawyers frame facts and events to favor their client's position. For instance, a defense attorney may frame a defendant's actions as self-defense, while the prosecution frames them as aggression. Discourse analysis explores how these frames influence jury interpretation and the trial's outcome. What are some common rhetorical strategies in courtroom discourse? Rhetorical strategies include appeals to logos, logic, presenting evidence and reasoning; pathos, emotion, evoking sympathy or outrage; ethos, ethics, establishing the speaker's credibility. Discourse analysis investigates how these strategies are employed to persuade judges and juries effectively. What methods are used for analyzing courtroom discourse? Conversation analysis examines turn-taking, interruptions, and speech patterns. Critical discourse analysis, CDA, focuses on power, ideology, and institutional control. Frame analysis studies how language frames issues and influences interpretation. Narrative analysis looks at how legal actors construct stories to support their arguments. What challenges do researchers face when analyzing courtroom discourse? Formality and complexity. Legal jargon and structured language can be difficult to analyze. Power imbalances. Recognizing how authority affects discourse can be nuanced. Context-specific meaning. Interpretations often depend on understanding specific legal frameworks and case law. Why is courtroom discourse analysis valuable? Analyzing courtroom discourse helps reveal how language constructs authority, influences case outcomes, and reflects broader social and legal ideologies. It provides insight into the mechanisms of persuasion and control within legal settings, contributing to a deeper understanding of the law's reliance on language.